It's 2 p.m. So, hello everyone again. Welcome to our webinar on the end of year stress. In the next 60 minutes, we would like to share information about challenges you have to face in this end year period. These challenges can be really harmful if there are many of it, or we don't know how to cope with them. Our purpose is also to help you find a suitable way of coping with these stressors. So we are going to share individual and also corporate solutions that I hope you will find them as useful tips and tricks. If you will have any questions, please write down in the Q&A section, and we are going to answer them at the end of the event. Before starting it, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Andrea Órás from the Hungarian Office of Assessment Systems, and I'm working as an HR consultant and psychologist. This topic has been a close friend of mine for a long time, since I'm also experiencing and fighting with the stress, supporting individuals and companies to come up victorious from the fight. So please welcome my partner, Leah, who will be the other host. Leah, can you please introduce yourself in a few sentences?
Of course, thank you, Andrea. Hello, everyone. My name is Leah Jakob. I come from the Czech Office of Assessment Systems, where I work as a psychologist and a consultant. As Andrea has said, in the past few months, we have been delivering many webinars on these topics to help organizations get out of this problematic time of dealing with COVID and keeping productivity up to scale. So it is my great pleasure to be here today with you.
Thank you, Leah. And let's jump into the topic. And here is a useful inventory that focuses on the relation between stressful life events and becoming ill. Psychiatrists Thomas Holmes and Richard Ray called these events as life change units, each having a different weight for stress. They found that the more events the patient added up, the higher the score. The higher the score and the larger the weight of each event, the more likely the patient was to become ill. Maybe this sounds a little bit scary, but it is really important to be conscious and aware of our life stress levels. So let's take a look at this inventory, focusing on those events that probably are or will be part of most of our lives because of the actual year-end period. If you have already filled the questionnaire, you know that there are 43 statements, but I will mention just a few of them. If we go one by one, I think the first life event that probably is part of your life is related to the statement 15, which is about business readjustment. I think it's because changes we have to face in December at work. The second one is statement 16, which is change in financial state. This is because of Christmas presents and events we have to attend. In line 18 is the third important life event that is probably in our life, part of our life, is change to a different life work. The next one is in line 22, change in responsibilities at work. I'm sure most of you has more tasks that might differ from your actual work position. The next one is in line 25, and it's about outstanding personal achievement. I think we can have the eagerness to become the best employee of the year. The next one is in the line 28, and this life event is about change in living conditions, still because of the home office. The next one is in the line 29, revision of personal habits. With the end of the year, this thought and action can appear in most of our minds. The next one is trouble with the boss in line 30. I think it's a higher chance to have to be in trouble with our bosses because of the high general stress in work. The next one is change in work hours or conditions. I don't want to add any comments. Change in sleeping habits in the line 38. The next one is the change in number of family get-togethers because of Christmas. And in line 40 is life event related to change in eating habits because of the gingerbread and other Christmas goodies, and because of stressful work. Because of it, we might miss some meals. And the last one I would like to mention is Christmas. Because yes, Christmas is a really great event, but still with high stress levels. If we have all these life events I've already mentioned in our life, the sum of these events score will be 320 points. Just to know how to interpret the total number, here is a table you can see in your screen to understand the three intervals and the meaning of them. If you have points between or less than 150, it means that there is a relatively low amount of life change in your life and a low probability to stress-induced health breakdown. But if you have scores between 150 and 300 points, it means that there is a 50% chance of health breakdown in the next 2 years. And the third category is 300 points or more, which means if there is a 80% chance of breakdown in the next 2 years, according to this Holmes-Rahe statistical prediction model. But just in case, if these stressors are present in our lives for months. So you can see that the score I added up is in the third category. Thanks God, this year and period is something special we experience just with the end of the year. But if not like this, you have to change your life radically. I just wanted to draw your attention to this science-based evidence that we really have to be careful with the monster of stress. And now let's take a deeper look at what kind of challenges we have to face too. The first category is work-related challenges. The festive season can be an incredibly pressured time for those in business. Why? Maybe all of you know the answer. It is really stressful that December is a shorter working month than the average, and everything should be done before the end of the year. Also, workloads and targets can increase or decrease exponentially. That means workers are either trying to do their best in half of the usual time or potentially looking for opportunities to maximize the business opportunities before the big break. I don't want to give more examples for proving how hard that period is for us, because I'm sure everybody can complete this idea with real personal experience from previous years. Other categories have bigger impact on individuals' personal lives, but still could have an additional negative effect on quality of their work lives. Whilst the pressure of the workplace can peak at Christmas, for some, there isn't any relief outside of work. Along with these physical strains, the festive season can put on people, the excess party food and alcohol playing a significant part, Christmas can heighten mental stress too. Regarding to partying and drinking alcohol with friends and family, will be less than in previous years because of the pandemic, but still it's important to share the fact revealed by a British study that 45% of people find Christmas financially stressful. There are many expenses during the festive period, and people may find themselves financially restricted at the beginning of the new year, being afraid of a sudden or unexpected expenses that may occur in the new year. The third category is about social interactions. Along with finances being under strain, the mental well-being of people can also come under more pressure than usual. The festive period is often a very sociable time of the year, but there are people who unfortunately may not have a close family or friends to spend time with, or may be separated from them. For these people, Christmas can often be the loneliness time of the year. But on the other side, there are people who struggle with the social expectations of Christmas. Anyway, on both sides, there is a high potential of feeling worse, stressed, anxious, and there is a higher chance to have breaking points. And last but not at least, we have to mention the impact of COVID-19 in our lives that makes us have more challenges and concerns. There are many negative emotions we experience because of home isolation and being too close and spending too much time with whom we are living, or because of feeling alone, far from our colleagues and loved ones. So we are really curious about what kind of stressors do you face during the end of the year and festive period. So we thought the poll would be the best to illustrate the results. So please choose from the answers. Here you can see the question again, that is, what kind of stressors do you face during the end of the year and festive period? And the first answer is work-related, the second one financial stressors, the third one social, and the last one health. You can choose just one or two or three of them, or all of them if you feel all of them in your life. Please answer the questions because it will close in a few seconds. Okay, now I think all of you can see the results. Wow, 100%. A few said that work-related stressors are definitely in your lives. 38% of you said that financial stressors are the second ones, and the third one with 31% is social stressors, and none of you chose the last one, the health-related. It's really, really interesting. Thank you so much for your answers. I don't want to talk more about the stress factors because we went already too deep into the dark mud of stress. So let's move on and take a look at the cost of stress in organization.
Right. So moving on from the personal factors, we have taken a look on the effects of stress it can have on a person. And there are many aspects of life that can be affected by it. And in this section, we will focus on how work performance can be affected when an employee is facing long-term stress, which does not get resolved, which is something that most of us will face at some point in our work lives. So there are two terms here, absenteeism and presenteeism, which can be observed in employees who are demotivated or even burned out at work. Let's just briefly introduce these terms. So absenteeism relates to the behavioral pattern when an employee is absent without a good reason or with a good reason. So for example, you can claim not to be able to work, not to come to work. And when your boss asks, why are you taking a day off? You don't really have a good reason, but you can come up with some. The second way you can be absent from work is health-related reasons. So for example, you get the flu and then you call your employer and you say, hey, I need a sick leave. So again, you are absent from work. And quite often, these behavioral patterns appear when employees leave work without a good reason. This is when it becomes a problem because they do not fill out their duties and obligations, and they cannot express a valid reason why. When we look at the research related to this term, there are some studies in the UK that have estimated that an average employee has around 7 to 8 absent days per year. This is including those days when it is valid, for example, due to sickness. I've read a recent report by Deloitte published in 2020, which indicates that stress is thought to be responsible for almost half of these working days lost in the UK. Which is claimed to be due to health issues. So basically, half of the 7 to 8 days you are sick, but the rest we do not know the exact reason why you are absent. And when we look at the causes of absenteeism, when people are actually honest and tell us why they did not come to work, low job satisfaction and low satisfaction with work as a whole are the main sources. So people that are unhappy at work will try to get out of work as well. And these sources of basically job dissatisfaction and low happiness with work as such are often caused by stress, which can come either from home life or from work life, by work culture of the company, because, for example, the culture just does not provide you with enough ways to relax or to just take time off. So you need to work on the days that you do not want and you, for example, burn out. The third reason is a competency job fit. So you do not feel that you are competent enough to fill out your duties. Therefore, you are very dissatisfied at work and you try to get out of it. And the third most often noticed reason was poor relationships with colleagues. That can be either with subordinates or with superiors or your general colleagues. So you just do not feel happy at work. And individuals who experience long periods of stress of the causes that I have listed are also most likely to take sick leave and be absent from their work position in general. So we can see that this kind of stressors also cause us to possibly become sick. The other side of this is presenteeism, which is the second point in the presentation, which is a term we use for when employees work while sick, or when they're otherwise not supposed to work, or when they do not feel that they are competent to work. For example, if I have a migraine, I might come to work and I might sit at my desk, but not really do what I'm supposed to do. So this we would call presenteeism, because in essence, I am not able to function properly and be effective at work, but still I am present in my workspace. And basically, it is quite often related to exhaustion, which inevitably then leads to lower productivity levels and to poor health outcomes. So for example, if I get the flu and instead of staying at home and actually resting, I come to work, I'm not gonna do the same level of productivity as I would if I actually took a few days off and recovered. Also, this phenomenon of presenteeism can spread infectious illnesses in the workplace. So we all know when the flu season starts or when somebody just starts sniffing in the office, all of a sudden we can be very quickly all sick because we get infected. Same thing has happened with COVID. This is why some of us are discouraged from going to the office. But we have had some examples that we've seen in the news where people just went to work and all of a sudden a corporation of 3,000 employees, everybody gets infected very soon. So it's quite important as the employer to be aware that sometimes people just should take actual time off and not be present. While companies are most concerned with employees not coming to work, so the absenteeism we've talked about, only recently has the importance of this term presenteeism been unveiled and its ability to further impair workplace performance of others. So as I've said, the things, for example, when you infect someone and they are just ill and cannot come to work or cannot work well enough. For some professions, this term presenteeism is a matter of necessity. For example, doctors and teachers, when they have a cold, they continue to work because, for example, a hospital cannot have enough doctors, so they are understaffed, or for example, a teacher does not want the children not to have the lessons that they should that way. But for most corporate employees, certain people such as workaholics and those who are very concerned with their job position security may use presenteeism to keep their job or their image of self safe. So for example, for a workaholic, it would be unacceptable not to come to work and to actually be seen there, even though they do not necessarily do the same amount of work or the quality of work. There is this survey called the Mind Workplace Wellbeing Index survey, which has shown that on average, the number of employees who say that they will always or usually come into the office when they are struggling with their mental health and would benefit from time off is around 81%. So if you think about it, 4 out of 5 people will come to the office when they are struggling with their mental health and would benefit from time off. So this is quite ridiculous when we think about this and when we think about how much mental well-being and even physical well-being is highly emphasized in our society. And just to illustrate this further, only 6% of those people that were surveyed have said that they always or usually take this time off when they don't think they are fit to work. And this yields, when we calculate this, a total of 31.6 days. So over a month and a half of work days lost per employee in 2018 due to them not being able to perform appropriately. So you have an individual who is basically out of those 52 weeks, for 5 weeks, they would literally just sit at their desk and look into nothing. So that's the performance that you lose in 1 year because people do not take the time off that they should. Both of these concepts are highly relevant in the quickly approaching times of year when we have yearly reviews and corporate financial closing of the year. As Andrea has said, this month is shorter. There are very, very high demands on most of us. Most companies expect the all hands on deck approach, which means everybody works to their fullest. Overtimes are expected. Everything needs to be done now. And while some of the time we may feel loss of motivation, for certain people, it is getting further emphasized because, for example, they can have personal reasons or health reasons while their motivation drops even more or while they are stressed even more. And this current isolation and change of public health situation is not benefiting employees either. So both of these are getting even further impacted. Many people will be worrying how will the holidays this year look like for their families, if they are able to visit their loved ones or manage to do everything on time. Even as Andrea has mentioned, there's the financial side to all of this. Can I afford my children to have wonderful presents, or do I have to actually somehow think of a way how to do this better? And a burden of having too much pressure from too many priorities is a very big thing at this time of the year. With a too high of a workload, for example, overtimes, and the inability or not being allowed to take leave, so to take a free day. And there can also be a lack of support from their work role, were main reasons for mental health symptoms in a survey of over 2,500 employees in 2019, which you can imagine is getting just more emphasized at this time. The third point here is turnover, which relates to either employees quitting or the organizations firing them. So turnover can be very high in those organizations that poorly manage stress of their employees. So as I've mentioned, these aspects that can actually improve or increase turnover For example, lack of support from their managers, or lack of ability to take a holiday when you actually need it, or just even a sick day. Those can really increase the unhappiness of employees and make them break, which is quite interesting. The first picture that you see with the guy with the rock on his back, that's sometimes how certain organizations feel due to their cultures being just way too stressful for the employees. And lastly, I've put on this fourth point, which is the biopsychosocial consequences. It is key to consider that stress is not a consequence related just to one isolated aspect of a person. It is both biological, so we can feel physically sick, we can feel anxious, or we can develop even depressive symptoms. We can also feel psychological problems related to this, so we can be quite poorly managing our emotions, or our motivation can drop, things like this. And also the social consequences are related to how we communicate at work, how we communicate to our manager, how we communicate to our subordinates or to our colleagues. And when all of this creates a perfect storm, then the consequences can be quite high for the organization, which can have a rapid fall. So if we look at specific numbers, which is something that organizations love to hear, what does it mean to have a stressed out employee for your budget? Well, in general, a research carried out by Islam in 2018 has shown that in the US, it's an average of $400 lost per year per employee if they were stressed out at work. The loss of productivity in general, and quite often due to stress-induced illnesses, was around 200 to 300 billion US dollars per year, which is a number we quite often cannot even imagine. In a recent Deloitte report on mental health at work, mental health costs turned out to be around 1,700 British pounds per employee. So just mental health. We're not talking about, for example, somebody having a physical condition and being affected. So as you can see, between this $400 and 1,700 British pounds, there's a huge difference. So basically this number has risen, with poor mental health being more costly on the younger employees. This is something you would not expect. You would expect older individuals to have more responsibilities at work, to be more stressed out, to have more problems with their, for example, family life or mortgages or something like this. But surprisingly, when we look at younger generations, so those that have just entered the workforce, we see that the cost of their mental health is around 8.3% of their average salary, while for normal general population of employees, it is around 5.8%. So there's a sharp increase in these mental health costs for the younger generation. And when we look at these costs in general, they are quite often related to those terms we've mentioned. So to absenteeism, so people not coming to work and not doing their work tasks, or presenteeism, where you see the person, they are there, they are in the workplace, but they are not working. So again, tasks do not get filled out. Except for the usual costs, we need to also take into consideration that these individuals are also not able to present their full range of skills and performance, which also can hinder the creative and innovative outcomes in a company. So if you have a creative person that is stressed out and not able to perform well, then the consequences are not just the $400, but for example, a brilliant new strategy or a brilliant new project that this person could have developed if they had some free days to relax. So when we look at solutions, something a bit more positive, we can think about what can we as an organization do for our employees to lower the presence of those factors. So how can we improve the situation? Well, one key thing is to admit the existence of a problem, which in most organizations, there will be someone who is stressed out and who you can see is stressing the people around them out as well. And to evaluate the extent to which this is affecting the organization. So for this purpose, data collection can be great. For example, you can do a simple survey in any tool that your organization uses, and you can think of some key questions to ask your employees. For example, in the past month, how they have felt. Do they feel the needed support of their manager? Do they feel, for example, that they are able to ask for a vacation day when they need it, and so on. And this can provide the employees with a sense of anonymity, where they can actually be open and share how they feel about their levels of stress and causes. Hopefully, once you get the results, you can then analyze them, think about them, and do something. We've had a couple of examples of organizations that have yearly collection of surveys, but then do nothing. And for this, I would like you to answer a poll that we will be presenting now. If I can ask Barbara to present the second poll. Right, so you see here a question, which is, does your organization measure the stress level of its employees? There are 4 options. One is never, one is once a year as part of a general survey, sometimes if needed, or more than once a year. So I would like to ask you in the following minutes to reply to it. Mm-hmm. A few more people left. Okay, so the last moments of the poll before they close. Anybody else? Okay, so as you can see, most of you have answered never. And the second, well, only 17% or 2 respondents have said sometimes if needed. So this is quite worrying, because we should always be thinking if our people are performing to their best levels, and if we don't know why they aren't, then we cannot know how we can improve this. So basically, this is the first great tip or step. So exploring the sources and causes, how you can help collect the data and see an insight. And then the second step is to implement certain stress reduction activities and rewards, in which we are going to talk in the next slide. So there are certain corporate solutions that we've explored. So in general, once you have an insight into how the organization can increase the level of engagement towards employees, it's good also to pinpoint a need for culture change if such thing is needed. For example, as I've said before, respecting workers' time off more strictly. So if my workday ends at 5, that nobody's going to expect me to join a meeting at 6 o'clock. Also, there is a possibility to create guidelines for leading online meetings, because sometimes in these COVID times, we hear that organizations just have very ineffective meetings, and the number of meetings has increased sharply. So people feel even more stressed by that. Also, what corporations can do is provide management and employees with trainings to improve their stress coping skills and reduce sources of stress. So here you can see some specific solutions that a corporation may use to help their employees feel more engaged and valued, such as positive rewards. For example, non-financial awards, such as small gifts of appreciation, so they can see that you're here for them. Or, for example, you can organize an event once we can all meet. So it's quite nice to engage people with each other and basically share sense of appreciation. The second thing we have found, which is quite nice, are e-vouchers and gift cards. So with these, you can actually give your employees the opportunity to buy something for themselves or to choose what they would like to get. Which people quite enjoy, and they can often be used, for example, for sports facilities, for leisure, for shopping, or for something completely else. And the most important solution fit for younger generations is the possibility to develop their own skills and knowledge. which is on the bottom right. So reward in form of development of skills. A report, I think, by Accenture on the millennial and the Z generation has shown that these members of the generations really appreciate when their employer shows that they can develop themselves. So when they have an opportunity, for example, to sharpen their skills in programming, or they can learn how to design some visuals or something like this. So basically, if you think about this, this can be an effective reward that the employee sees as a great investment into their future. And also this can be a benefit for the company with having an even more skilled worker who can then do a wider range of activities. So here are some concrete solutions that companies can use to help their employees feel more engaged and valued. For example, there are trainings that you can organize or get from an outside source related to specific skills which are beneficial in reducing stress in the workplace. First such thing is stress management methods. So teaching people how to basically manage their stress. What is stress even? Because knowing what is bothering us may help us improve to notice it and to manage it. The second one, which has really risen in popularity in the past years, has been stress reduction training. So for example, mindfulness trainings, which we've been delivering for the past year very extensively, and people really like it. The next one is definitely improving the employee's ability to manage their own time, because quite often we find that individuals who are very chaotic in their approach to work are quite often very stressed because they're not sure what are the priorities until when they need to do them or how to even approach these things. So just helping them learn how to manage their own time more effectively can help them overall. Developing communication skills is definitely a great perk and can be related to this emotional intelligence training. So to be able to notice the emotions of myself, of my coworkers, and then communicate accordingly can create a more positive organizational culture and just everybody being less tense or less negative to each other if we take a look at it from that angle. And the last thing that we've listed here are well-being support programs, which can be, for example, sports classes, yoga classes, meditation trainings, as we've mentioned. And in 2017, Deloitte has released a report which highlighted the return of investment rate for employers investing in employee mental health, as to for every €1 invested, there was €5 of additional growth to the company that was experienced. So if you think about it, that is a great investment. And one thing that sometimes is used as sort of an umbrella term is the employee assistance program. So this is a general term that organizations have embraced in the past years, which are often offered as a benefit. So how does this work? Well, basically the organization pays a fee per employee, for example, €1 or €2 per month, and the employees can access specific specialist help in domains related either to their health, to their mental health and performance, to legal help, or to some other ones that we have listed here. It is usually completely paid by the organization, so the employee does not carry any costs if they contact this person or if they need such help. And the great thing is that it's usually completely anonymous, so the employee can freely approach any counselors who can help with their needs in form of short meetings. So for example, if you have a legal problem, you could contact the Employee Assistance Program, ask for a legal advisor, and then they can talk to you about the legal problem. And research has shown that such counseling opportunities are able to lower, in general, the terms we've talked about. So presenteeism, so me being at work, sitting there and thinking about, oh my God, I'm so stressed because Christmas is coming and I don't know who to talk to. Well, if I have employee assistance program, we might have a psychologist who I can call and to talk to them about the struggles that I'm having. So I'm no longer gonna be just in the office thinking about my own problems rather than to work. It also lowers absenteeism. For example, if you have medical help or nutritionists help, even psychologists help, because if we reduce stress, we reduce the number of sick days that people take, and in general turnover. Because if I can talk to someone about me being unhappy with my manager or about something, they might provide me with useful advice and I might cope with it better rather than to think I need to brush up my CV and go somewhere else. This can as well increase staff morale, as these employees who would usually not be able to seek help can now do it in a confidential and for free way as soon as their needs arise. Most often employees are seeking help for substance abuse. So for example, if somebody starts misusing alcohol when they are struggling at work, also stress in the workplace related to poor time management, as we've talked about it, to lack of stress coping skills or poor relationships with coworkers. Also, quite often we see people coming with major life events, as Andrea has said in the beginning. So some very big changes happening and they don't know really how to cope with that or how to even think about that, which then cause them emotional distress. And we can help with this and with healthcare concern. And when I looked at the data, I've seen that one report mentioned that over 60% of employees in general do not feel comfortable approaching their manager to talk about their problems, or HR, which is quite a concerning number because those two people or those two sources should be there for you to be able to address your concerns. And this impairs their performance if they feel they cannot trust these sources. And the need for programs like these is further just justified. So right, there are some individual solutions which you may use or may think it's good in this time. So first of all, definitely building your own time management approaches. Google around, there's Getting Things Done program. There are different kinds of ways to prioritize tasks and to get things more easily available to you. The second thing is organizing your workspace. If you feel that coming holidays are making you cheerful, then it's great. Decorate your table, or for example, clear out the clutter that you've accumulated over the year. Bottom right one says reevaluate and set new goals. Definitely, the end of the year is coming. Think about your performance before you meet your performance manager. Think what great things you have done for your company. Think what are some things that you can further improve. So when you come to that meeting, you are ready and you can already share with your manager and he can see that you're actually thinking about it. Definitely think of adjusting your work hours if you are struggling. For some people during the home office regime, they like to work in these bimodals. So basically working in the morning and then working in the evening, but always be aware that you are paid for a certain amount of time and don't overstep it. Just because you've worked 12 hours doesn't mean that you have been approved to work for 12 hours. So aim for the 8. Definitely practice gratefulness and celebrate success, because this is something that can give us mental strength, that can make us feel way more empowered to go and to do even greater things at work. And be mindful of your needs. Sometimes we need solitude, sometimes we need to unwind after a really, really long day, and sometimes we need to connect. So figure out what gives you energy, what drains your energy, and adjust accordingly.
Thank you, Lau. After taking a look at what can we do for our companies and for our mental health, let's meet the work recovery model, which could help you also in individual levels. What do you do to recover from a stressful workday? I think recovery strategies vary. Some of them are more active, such as playing sports, while others are rather passive, like watching television. According to this drama model proposed by Newman, Tay, and Diener, there are two basic areas of recovery. The first one is prevention, which is about demand reduction. and the second one is about promotion, related to resource gain. Both need to be addressed for employees to properly unwind, as Lea already said. And within these two areas, the following 5 elements promote work recovery and also support subjective well-being. The first one is detachment recovery, the second one autonomy, mastery, meaning, affiliation. Let's see how we could make the most of each of the 5 elements. Detachment recovery is the first one, as I said. Time away from work is essential for recovery, especially when we manage to cognitively switch off. So it's really important to make sure your leisure activities help you to disengage from work-related matters. You can choose from passive activities, like I already said, sleeping, watching TV or movies, etc. But in judging in a hobby which needs more focus from your side, as playing sports, painting, or dancing salsa, would help you more in filling up your batteries. The second element is autonomy. The freedom of autonomous leisure decisions is beneficial because it is based on our intrinsic motivation, which is a key ingredient for our well-being. Only if you need in charge of designing at least part of your leisure time autonomously will you get the maximum recovery from the activities you perform. So do not accept to feel energetic in those activities that were not chosen by you. Mastery is the third element. Mastery occurs when you use your skills to overcome a challenge and as a result experience development and growth. One of the most important concepts in positive psychology is related to mystery is the concept of flow by Csikszentmihalyi. Flow is what you experience as a result of an appropriate balance of challenge and skill. Too much challenge results in stress, but too little in boredom. But the right balance provides a flow state, which is characterized by a feeling of being completely absorbed in that activity and forgetting about the time. Let's speak about the meaning. Positive psychology enthusiasts know that meaning is an important element for successful work recovery, since it is also an important component of well-being. Engaging in activities that provide a purpose in life has been found to reduce negative emotions, provide a sense of tranquility and peace of mind, affirm self-worth, and facilitate growth and development. Let's talk about the last one, which is affiliation. Connecting with others is one of the most important aspects of life and is linked with higher subjective well-being, as it is one of our basic human needs. Spending your leisure time with friends encourages positive emotions and ultimately improves well-being. It's clear there is more to work recovery than putting your feet outside of office or workplace that maybe now is a place in your house. If you find yourself ruminating about work during your leisure time, you may want to indulge in activities which demand full involvement and require skill, effort, and also commitment, as they can change your focus and will help you to take your mind off work. Let's talk more about positive psychology, because it gives us many solutions to see the bright side of dark times. This field of science focuses on the positive events and influences in life, including positive experiences like happiness, joy, inspiration, and love, and also positive states and traits like gratitude, resilience, and compassion. It also spends much of its time thinking about topics like character strength, optimism, life satisfaction, happiness, well-being, gratitude, compassion, self-esteem, self-confidence, hope, and elevation. While speaking and using these positive words, I'm sure you have better feelings inside your body than you have felt yourself when I was talking about the stress factors. This is exactly how positive psychology works. If we focus on positive aspects of our personality, life events, happenings, we are going to feel better and we'll be closer to flourish and live our best lives. So we thought a positive ending would be the best for this webinar to somehow start this positive attitude in practice with finding small or big parts of our life for what you could be grateful for. So here in the slide you can see 3 questions, but we would like you to answer just for this one. What are those things you can be grateful for? And for answering this question, we would like you to use menti.com. Go to this website, www.menti.com, and enter the code you can see in your screen. And then you can see again this question, what are the things you are grateful for? I will stop sharing and start sharing the Menti presentation. Just 1 minute. So here is the website, and you can see the code here again. Oh, love, being healthy, having great friends, my family support, friends, family, my pets, my friends, family is the bigger one. Food. Somebody loves to eat.
Andrea, we have a question if we can share the code again.
Yeah, of course. Here you can see the code is 6286182. Thank you, Lau. Can you see my screen with this word cloud? Yeah, okay. Financial security is a new element. My development, kids, health, being healthy, my family support. So nice. Sport. Let's integrate in our body and our soul these positive thoughts that you've mentioned and that we can see here in the word cloud of word. Okay. I see that there is no more change in this word cloud. Okay, then thank you so much for answering the questions. I will share my screen again. One moment. Because you could see there were 2 more questions in this slide, and those questions are gifts from us to you that you can take as positive inspirational questions. And these 2 questions are: what are the positive effects of pandemic? And the second one is how can you make the year more memorable and less stressful for yourself or your employees? So thank you so much for your attention. This is the end of our webinar. If you have any questions, please let us know. I will check the Q&A section, but I think we had just that question related to Mentimeter. Yes. If somebody has any question, please, now is the time to share with us. If not, then thank you for your attention. Be careful.